Kamila. Welcome to the Greenway Startups Show. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I know that you are very young, right? But you are already like for more than 10 years in the digital world. And it's just amazing. So whenever I read your story, I thought I really have to invite Kamila to the show because my focus is that to get some motivation, to help female entrepreneurs to get some motivation to keep up and start their own online business or offline business if this is the case. But actually yourself, you started your own business at age of 12, right? And you were so kind of mangas that for those who don't know what is that, is that like comics that you translated from English to Polish? Mm-hmm. And you had like 40,000 views at age of 12. I just cannot believe it. Yeah. And then later on, you had a photography business and 80% of your clients you scored from social media.
That's correct.
And then you had also like a wellness business, a wellness blog, and you like running for like 100, you had 100,000 views per month and you sold it. Mm-hmm. And like last year, then in 2015, you finally started your own digital agency under your own brand name, right?
So I actually started this business in 2014. So it's been almost 2 years for the marketing business.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that. So what is your recent elevator speech for a serial entrepreneur as you? How you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I mostly focus on the business that I have right now, which is, we help entrepreneurs with marketing. So my little one-liner is that I'm a digital marketing strategist for modern entrepreneurs and business owners who want to blow up online and scale up so they can become leaders in their space. So that's the short end of that, but we tend to focus on like trust-based marketing, anything that's allowing the person to grow their personal brand and grow their expertise in a way that is authentic to them and feels good, but is simple at the same time.
Oh, wow. So let me ask you that, how did you get the path you got to this business what you have right now? So you started at age 12, but how somebody gets to the idea at age 12 to start a business? So are you coming from an entrepreneurial family? Did you, by the way, grow up in the US or in Poland, or what about your roots?
Yeah, so actually I grew up in Poland. I moved to America when I was 13. So my mom was an entrepreneur. She had a beauty salon in a small town in Poland. She started that when I was like 5 or so. My dad wasn't an entrepreneur yet, but he is an entrepreneur now. He owns a construction business. But when I started it wasn't really a business. It was just kind of like a website that I was driving traffic to because I wasn't making any money. I was 12 years old. So in 2012, I didn't even know that was possible to make money online yet. I was really passionate about manga and anime and stuff like that. And I would see other websites of people that were doing this already. Like there's a certain community in Poland that like that kind of stuff, but it's not a huge community. Now in the town that I grew up in, there was only one other person that actually liked what I did. So when I realized that like we got dial-up internet, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's people out there that actually like this. This is crazy. And when I saw these other websites, I was like, well, I can do that. I can figure this out. So I printed off like 100 pages of how to use HTML, how to create websites in HTML. And yeah.
So it was even an HTML website, not even a WordPress or.
I don't think WordPress even existed yet. So I had to build it like HTML style. There were different templates that you could still download to kind of tweak, but that's how I started with my first website. And whenever I start with something, like with some kind of project, I go all in. So I wasn't just going to have this and then no one come and visit and download. When I was putting all of my time and energy into like doing the translations and actually had people virtually to help me with it, I was going to go all in. So that's where my marketing interest kind of got started, although I didn't necessarily call it a marketing interest. Like I didn't really think didn't know that marketing is a word. Like I didn't know that's what it was. To me, I just wanted more people to know what I was doing online so I could, you know, feel the gratification of like, there's a point to what I'm doing. There's people actually like taking advantage of, in a good way, taking advantage of, you know, the things that I'm putting out there and downloading and that kind of stuff. Because otherwise it'd be like, well, what's the point? Ooh, I can't hear you. No.
Let me restart it. You hear me now? Okay. So it's a fantastic story, but I still don't understand how did you drive 40,000 people to your website at age 12 at like 10 years ago or 15 years ago?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of the things that I used back then are still, they're not exactly the same, like they're not exactly relevant because it's not like the same exact strategies, but some of them were still relevant. So like I actually did a lot of SEO back then, again, not knowing that's what I was doing. I basically just, you know, I was looking for my website to be linked on other websites that were relevant. Back then, because there weren't that many websites, whenever there was a website like that did this, they would list out other website that also did something else that would just have other like, you know, authors or other book titles or whatever that were translated, because we all kind of were, you know, helping each other. So a lot of people were able to see my website from the websites that were already like very, very popular, because I just basically like created relationships with these people. Like back then, if you guys remember back in 2002, like that's when the chat rooms were like starting to get like big and stuff. So that's when I met all these people. I just found a bunch of chat rooms, started talking with people, and then like all of a sudden these are the owners of these awesome websites, and I basically started creating relationships, and they, you know, they were like, what you're doing is awesome. Your website looks legit. And, you know, I want to tell people about the downloads that you have. Because it was, you know, it wasn't like, nobody was really making money. I don't know if they were making money. I know I wasn't. But the community that we had, like we just wanted to help other people, and with the passion that we all had. And this was our way of helping other people get access to like our passion, which was, you know, like manga at the time. And you know, if we want more people if we want more people to know about this and actually like, you know, feel good about the fact like they don't need to know English to necessarily read or Japanese or whatever. So it was just a communal kind of way of helping the community in general. So it was pretty easy to get links and stuff like that. And that's how most people found me.
And then later on for the wellness blog that you had, you were sharing like some healthy food ideas and so on. So you had contributors on the website, if I'm right? So you had guest bloggers.
For the wellness blog, at the end of it, I started the wellness blog just for myself, just because I kind of as a blog, because I saw there are other blogs out there, and I'm like, well, I kind of want to do this too, and I need to get healthier and stuff like that. And I was already good at photography from like the portrait side, so I was like, well, I want to learn how to do food photography because that's different, and it was completely like so much harder. By the way, it took me a while to like be decent at it. But the thing with wellness is, you know, I was basically using it as my own kind of channel for like posting recipes and stuff. And then I started getting traffic. And again, I got into this flow of like, ooh, how can I get more people to know about this? Like I'm putting all this time and energy into creating this recipe, putting awesome pictures up. I want more people to know about it. So that's when I started to utilize like, you know, Pinterest. I think Pinterest just came out at that point. So I started using Pinterest and like different social media platforms. I started actually reading up on marketing more, and like content marketing and blogging and different strategies for making that happen. But a lot of it I still had to kind of like figure out on my own because I didn't know of all the websites that were out there. You know, there were maybe like 2 blogging sites that I actually followed, but everything else was like, well, from a like common sense perspective, I know, but back when I did, you know, people would just like leave my links on their website. So how could I make that same thing happen now? And it was like a very straightforward thing. Like if more people can know, how can more people know about me? Well, if somebody that already has an audience mentions me, then that audience is naturally going to go to my website. So I was trying to do that. And a lot of the content ideas that I had to do with other people. And again, creating relationships and creating partnerships with these other people, as well as doing a lot of SEO. I started learning about SEO, social media. Again, Pinterest was a huge one for me. And then a little bit, like a couple of years in, I've only had it for about 3 years, but about 2 years in, I started to kind of, lose my passion for it a little bit. And that's when I started bringing in more guest writers. And at the end, it was just completely, it was all guest writers. And then, and then I sold the blog. So now I don't really know what they're doing.
Okay, so you are not associated with the blog anymore. You are not following what they're doing.
No, I sold the blog back in almost a year ago.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
it still has my face on it and still has my name on it. I don't know why. I told the guy, like, can you take off my name? Like, people think that it's still me. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to get to it. But he has it. So
okay.
It's fine.
So, and this is my next question. It brings up my next question because personally for myself, who is also running several businesses, it's always a big headache for myself. How can I differentiate myself for different businesses? And especially I find it a huge problem on LinkedIn, where you have one single profile and it looks weird when you indicate I'm a photographer and plus I'm a business developer, I'm an online marketer, because if you have so many sites and people are getting lost, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you solve this problem, or what is your strategy for this?
Yeah, so even though, there was definitely a time where I was doing like 4 things at the same time, and it was definitely challenging, especially with Twitter, when the bio is so tiny and it's like, what should I say? Because I want to promote all the things. I want to promote my photography business. I want to promote my wellness blog, and I was starting my marketing thing. And I'm like, because people are following me because they're interested in one of these things. Typically, it's not all of them. Mm-hmm. So I basically had to focus in on one of the things, and, majority of the posts and the majority of like how I was positioning myself and what I was talking about online, that's what it was about. So, when I was in the depths of my photography business, and that's because there's no, typically you have one focus. You might have 3 focuses, but like one is the priority, right? So like that's the one that you would focus on, positioning yourself under, because if you have a lot of things, like it's just, okay, well, that's cool, but it's going to be harder for you to grow your audience. It's going to be harder for you to engage these people, because you're always going to be if you try to post about everything, like some of the people are going to feel like, okay, I don't really care about this, and they're going to unfollow. So for me, when I was into photography, I would majorly focus about photography. I would post about photography and stuff like that. When I was into my wellness blog, that's what I would focus on. I would mostly focus on posting about food and that kind of stuff. And then I would just focus about marketing, because that's the culmination of all the things that I was doing. And then within the marketing sphere, I decided what I wanted to be known as, which for me was list building for the most part, in Facebook ads and sales funnels. So those were the things that I would talk about the most until and started getting interviewed about, and just writing blog posts and writing guest posts, and until people started to associate me with list building, Facebook ads, and sales funnels.
I see. So what is happening actually with your old social media profiles? For example, your photography one, your wellness one, or actually how you handle your private profile, for example, on Facebook?
Yeah, so I personally, I use all social media as a business tool. Like I don't ever, I have friends on Facebook, like on my personal profile. So like if I need to talk to them, that's fine. But I usually just use like texting if I want to talk to somebody that's an actual friend. And the way that I approach business and marketing is I want to use all the channels available to me and maximize all of them, especially if they're free, because why not? So I personally use my Facebook profile for growing my marketing business. I no longer have my photography business. I stopped doing that 2 years ago, or 2 years ago. So like, I had to basically cut off these different, trim the fat, if you will, from what was really diluting my focus on what was really important. Because what was really important to me was growing my marketing business. That's where the money was, and that's what I was actually the most interested and passionate about. And photography, I wasn't meant to be a professional photographer. As soon as I started gaining money for it, I started to not like it as much. So it was very clear to me, wellness, that was all fine and good, but there was only a certain amount of money I could make with that. And, I actually don't even like cooking. So like, it was very easy for me to just kind of let that go. And then, marketing is what has been kind of the thread throughout all the different ventures that I had, including the, the early, the tween website I had. So, when I realized that's what the missing link was, that's what the common thread was, I started to focus on that, and everything's been, definitely more focused and therefore a lot more successful as well.
Yeah, I also know from you that you mentioned all the marketing strategies and the online marketing.
Oh, I can't hear you again.
Hear you again?
There you go.
You hear me?
Yes.
Now I had to turn back.
Okay, you're good.
Just a second. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, you hear me now.
Yes.
So I also know, because you just mentioned that your focus right now is marketing. And I know that you spent like about 2 years in the corporate world working for a marketing agency, right? So how do you utilize your experience there in your recent business?
Yeah, so I've actually, I spent about, how long did I spend? It was about 3 years in corporate. Well, like, it wasn't like corporate. There were startups, there were smaller companies, which is the types of companies that I like working with. So I basically got started as a social media person and kind of added on email marketing to that as well. And I worked with primarily, in the first company that I worked with, it was a startup, very, very scrappy startup. We worked with a lot of local businesses, so I had that local kind of experience there and getting people on the social media and getting a more online presence. It was cool because I had to basically figure everything out of myself again, because I was basically the only person in that company that actually knew social media. And then the actual agency that I worked with, again, I was a social media strategist. A big reason why I got hired actually was because of my blog, because they saw the success that I had with so it was really cool. And I worked with primarily e-commerce businesses in that agency. And the entire reason why I actually wanted to leave, because I actually loved that job. I got a lot of promotions. I was, progressing really quickly. And the reason I wanted to leave is because I realized that I didn't want to work with clients that I didn't feel excited about. And there were quite a few of them on the e-commerce side. Like with e-commerce, I find that a lot of, at least the clients that we had, they are very just money oriented, and that's it. And there's a lot of times no passion around it. So those are not the types of people that I like working with, because I'm all about, again, trust-based, passion-driven. And when there's that element in business, I can suggest different strategies that for somebody that's just looking for a quick buck wouldn't make sense. Like blogging is a long-term strategy. Somebody that just wants a quick buck right now, that they're not going to want to do that, and it's going to come through when they're doing the blogs. So that it was a little frustrating for me, because like I had all these great ideas about like the campaigns that we could run and how we could introduce the founder and like do all these cool trust-based campaigns. Yeah. And a lot of clients were just not interested in that. Like they just wanted to see the bottom line increase, and that's, typically that would be just from advertising, like Google AdWords and stuff. And, for me, I was like, but I need to do these things. So I realized that a lot of personal brands were very much into trust-based, and a lot of coaches, and that's when I started getting introduced to like coaches and consultants and people like that, and bloggers. And it kind of, just came from my research and, seeing that there are people out there that actually love what they do. And the whole reason why I started my business while I was still in that job is I wanted to experiment the ideas that I had come to fruition. And, it started going really well, and I really started loving my life kind of thing. And at that point I was like, well, you know what, this is, one of them has to go, and that had to be the job, because that wasn't going to scale up the way that my business could have.
Did you have a coach?
Did I have what?
Did you have a coach that time?
Yeah. So I started, when I started that business, I didn't have a coach. I would have like one-off sessions with like a person here and there. I didn't have that much money, so I couldn't really, go with a coach necessarily. And then a couple months in, maybe 3 or 4 months in, I went to this like big three-day event that my at the time mentor was hosting. And she was basically like, the whole purpose of this event was to enroll people into her mastermind program, and that included one-on-one coaching. So I decided to go for it, even though it was like 12 months commitment, and it was a lot of money per month. It was more than my rent every month, and it was very, when I actually signed up afterwards, I was like, I thought I was gonna have a panic attack, because it was I was gonna throw up, because it was just like so scary that I could make such a big commitment and such big investment when my business wasn't making any money yet. Yeah. And it was a big thing, because like, it was myself showing myself that I was truly committed to my business as well. It wasn't just going to be a hobby. It was going to be something that like I'm going to turn into a real business. So, a couple months in is when I started to work with a mentor, and that's when things really started to pick up and kind of, get a lot better.
So was it a one-to-one coaching, or was it a group?
So the way that she had it is, the program that she had is, there were different levels. So she had the lowest level, where she would basically just talk to her one-on-one, and then, you were in a Facebook group. There was a higher level where you could talk to her one-on-one, plus have like 4 mastermind events that you could go to. And then there was like a bigger one where she also like had her VA agency help with stuff. So I could only afford the lowest one. So I basically only spoke with her. And that was in the Facebook group to just like, just to see what other people were doing. But it was mostly like one-on-one mentorship for me, just because that's all I could afford. That was the lowest, the lowest package that she had. But it was still very, very, very helpful. And the fact that it was a community feel, having that Facebook group in general, and like her keeping people accountable and like showing that other people are doing awesome things, like that's a big driver. That's a big motivator for me, at least, is seeing, okay, let's see if I can, reach this goal, and like everybody, the common, like the communal energy of, just getting things done and pushing each other. Like that's big. But yeah, so that was helpful.
Yeah, that's true. One of the reasons I really love you and your strategies, because I see that in everything, single thing you put out there, there is like a strategy behind that. Mm-hmm. And especially when you do your blogs, your email communication and everything, it's so well prepared. And you told me, you mentioned already to us that for you, list building, one of your expertise is list building. So can you tell me your strategy, what you can share with us? So what is your absolute like star magic strategy that you follow and you recommend your clients as well?